What is up, mortals? It's me, Dylan, with a new video for you. Welcome to part 3 of What If Deku Was a Pokemon. I wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, cause you're in for a treat. So, we begin. Izuku split away from the girl and began searching the city for robots to destroy. He thought about using his senses to find where the robots would be, but it only worked on things that were alive, and he still had difficulty using it on command. So, Izuku had to rely on his speed to search for them. Izuku focused his energy on increasing his body's speed, running down the streets, looking left and right. With this strategy in mind, he could secure a good number of points to pass.
I still don't have full control over my senses. Then I'll search for them as quickly as possible.
Izuku looked all around and found multiple robots in one area. He was slowing himself down to jump into the air and come crashing down into the robots, destroying them and earning him points. Izuku would keep this up for a while, speeding down the streets, seeing the robots, destroying them with a punch or kick, and continuing searching. While Izuku was speeding down the streets, everyone watching him would only see a blue blur going by them, and only see him fully whenever he stopped and attacked something. Izuku's high speeds, attack stats, and strategies for taking down enemies impressed most of the teachers. Within the last few minutes of the exams drawing near, Izuku kept speeding down the streets and saw many people arguing with each other amongst the scattered robots. He ignored them and continued speeding to ensure he had enough points to pass the exam. He would come to a complete halt whenever the ground beneath him and the students started to shake, making them look around and figure out what that was. Once the sound of glass and buildings breaking were in their general area, they turned and found the 0 points robot they were told about standing over them with the parts of the building crashing down on them. Izuku was frozen in fear to see this type of robot being used in a situation like this.
That thing is massive! There's no way I can do anything to that big thing!
Izuku started to run away like the other students, but his surroundings soon went dark, and the only things he could see were the blue auras that surrounded the people running away from them. Izuku looked around him, trying his best not to trip over and falling debris around him. He swiftly made his way through the rubble, reaching for safety, until he heard a cry behind him. He turned around and found that one of the blue auras was trapped underneath something, struggling to break free as they cried for help. Izuku shook his head, hoping this would get his vision back and to see whom it was crying for help. Once his vision returned, he noticed who they were. The brown-haired girl that he talked to. She struggled to break free from the rubble, but couldn't move an inch from it. Something sparked inside of Izuku as his body reacted on its own. Izuku started speeding down to the brown-haired girl, as his hands slowly started to cover themselves in blue flames. His pupils turned into slits, glowing bright red. At that moment, something clicked in her mind from seeing those red eyes and blue fire, bringing back memories of a specific event. Once Izuku almost reached the young girl, he crouched as energy flowed throughout his body and released into a powerful jump. The students and teachers watched in shock as they saw the young mutant boy jumping high into the air, with his entire body surrounded in blue flames. Izuku's mind was blurry, only seeing the thing in front of him.
Take this! Smash!
Izuku's fist contacted the robot, and the fierce punch shocked everyone watching it. The punch not only made a dent in the robot, but also destroyed part of its face, scattering around on the ground and creating more damage from it. Izuku was shocked that he destroyed the robot quickly, and almost nothing seemed wrong. Well, what could be said about his body? He was falling from the sky, as his arm was used to punch along with his legs were dark purple, flailing around in the wind, and the feeling of pain overrode his body. He couldn't think about anything else, except what he could do to survive the impact of the ground. Izuku looked around him to see what he could use, but the only thing he could see was the non-broken arm. He prepared to use it on his arm, but was slapped in the face by the brown-haired girl. Izuku floated above the ground before dropping instantly whenever the girl said, "Release." Izuku looked up slowly as the girl slowly walked over to him, as he slowly started to lose consciousness. From his view, it felt all too familiar, as the girl's voice reminded him of that person all those years ago. Just like last time, the last thing he could see and hear was the girl standing over him and asking if he was okay. A few days after the exams, Izuku was meditating in his room, waiting for the results of the exams to come in. He felt a bit nervous about the results, but had some confidence within him. telling him everything would be alright. Then, Inko came bursting into the room, holding a letter with the symbol of UA on it. Izuku grabbed the letter from his mother's hand as he closed the door, leaving Inko pacing outside his door. He opened the letter and projector of All Might. The projection of All Might went on about Izuku's written and physical portion, telling him that he passed both with flying colors, especially in the physical exam. He had a good number of points for destroying the robots, plus extra points for saving a person's life. Izuku came out of the room, smiling at his mother, signifying that he had made it in. Inko was happy about her son's achievement, but she still felt wrong about something. He asked her what was wrong with her, and she tilted her head up with tears dripping down her face and a smile.
Izuku, darling, I know I haven't helped you much with your training, but maybe something like this could help you more.
Inko held out her hands with something small and shiny. Izuku looked at it and noticed it was an orange stone with something in the middle. The middle of the stone had a blue and red flame within it. Izuku didn't know exactly what this stone was, but he hesitated to grab it from her. He could feel his mother staring at him, knowing he didn't know how to feel. He slowly moved his hands to pick it up, but Inko placed it in his hand, closing it and smiling at her son, telling him that she hoped it would help and that she was proud of him. Izuku's tail began to wag from his mother's words, and Inko laughed at him wagging. She patted his head as she made her way to her room. Izuku looked at the stone one more time as something within him sparked. He shook off the feeling as he went to bed. On the day of UA, Izuku ran down the hall of the school, searching for his class. Over the weekend, Izuku tried to work on bettering his senses, and was able to get a better understanding of them. Once he found the class, Izuku's senses began to activate again, enabling him to see all the energies in there, and one aura felt all too familiar, causing Izuku to sigh. Opening the door to be greeted with yelling coming from Bakugo and the blue-haired boy. Once Izuku got into the room, everyone, plus the two arguing, turned their heads toward him. Izuku hesitated a bit before clearing up and saying his name. The blue-haired named Ida introduced himself and apologized for his actions on the exam. Izuku accepted the apology as a familiar voice could be heard from behind him. The brown-haired girl named Ochako came running down and happily said this to the boy.
I remember you now. You're that boy that helped me against that boy who made explosions with his hands.
Izuku was confused by the girl's words until something popped into his head. Whenever he fought Bakugo and those bullies and tried to save that kid, the only thing he could remember was the voice and the blurry image of the girl. Izuku's ears and tail perked up whenever he remembered her fully.
I remember you now too!
Ochako started to laugh at Izuku's realization, happy to see the one that helped her all those years ago. Izuku chuckles as his tail slowly wags, and his face turns red in embarrassment. He saw that his tail was wagging, and immediately tried to stop it. Ochako and a few other students laughed at Izuku, which embarrassed him more. You can leave if you're here to get compliments and laugh. Izuku, Ochako, Ida, and the other students immediately turned to stone from the sound coming behind the doorway. They turned to find a tired person inside a bag drinking something. They wondered who the heck this guy was, and soon their question was answered. The man was their class teacher, Shodaizawa, exiting his sleeping bag as he talked about how they were slow to listen. He took out a track uniform, throwing it toward Izuku, saying they needed to change and go to the training ground as he left them to think about it. The students made their way to the training ground that Aizawa talked about. Izuku and Ochako talked with each other before Bakugo called out for Izuku. Izuku turned around to find Bakugo walking over to him. Deku! You know that you're nothing compared to me. I don't care what you're capable of or not. Just want to let you know. Don't even think about surpassing me.
Bakugo, I understand that you're trying to prove yourself, and I won't stop you. But I'm doing my own thing, and I won't have you in my way.
The rest of the class just watched the two staring at each other intensely, with one of the boys commenting how they had such a manly rivalry between them, as someone in the class agreed on the rival part, but not so much on the manly part. Hey, you two want to listen to what I have to say, or do you want to leave here? Izuku and Bakugo turned around and straightened themselves up as Aizawa began to speak. He went on about the school and what would happen to them throughout their school year. But what he said about what they would do right now, most of them were confused. Aizawa wants them to perform a few tests to see where they stand right now, and expel the one that fails the test. Throughout the fitness exam, Izuku had almost no trouble with the exams. Although he doesn't have full control over the flames or senses, he is still very capable of proving to himself that he was still strong enough to pass them. Clearing through the mile run, laps and sidesteps by focusing his energy on his lower body while focusing his strength on the ball throwing and pressure test. Once the test was over, Aizawa showed the placement of the students as Izuku stood above Bakugo, which made the boy very angry and wanted to charge at Izuku. But Aizawa made sure that no fights broke out. Just yet. The day was over, and Izuku started to make his way toward the train station, as Ochako and Ida followed behind him. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to say, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. And lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend you an invitation to join our team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us, so what are you waiting for? Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and have a great day.